Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this special episode of Daniel's Dread Tales, where we're going to meet some of the regular cast and answer some questions that you guys had. I don't know, is that an intro? I don't know how to intro these things. I usually write about...
Anything's an intro if you're brave enough.
This is true, this is true.
Those are the words that Cafe has lived by, so...
So do we want to maybe go around in a circle and just say our names real quick? Or, yeah, let's do that.
I think top down is probably best.
You're right, we don't have a circle. Well, yeah, I guess we'll start with me. Hey there, I'm Daniel Fernandez, he, him. I'm the guy you hear on most episodes. It's sort of my show, but it's everybody's show.
Hi, I'm Damien, he, they. I am on a few of the episodes as well. Hi there.
Oh, I'm next. Oh, hi, everyone. My name's Dominic, he, him. I am one of the voices that you hear at the very beginning, and I'm also the editor.
And for that, we love you.
Oh, thanks.
Hi, I'm Nathan Friedman, pronouns he, him, and I'm also pretty commonly on this podcast, and I do nothing else for this group.
Yeah, you're one of the local kaiju experts, so, you know.
It's weird that we have two of those.
You know, it's important. You need to have a backup in case anyone, either of us goes down.
True.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having more experts than one. And I'm Russell McCracken, he, they. I do playing in many of the games, and I'll be running a couple, and I stick my fingers in all of them.
All right. So should we go through some of these questions that we have here?
I'm all right with that.
Yeah, Russell collected some questions for us. You know what? Do you want to do the questions, Russell? Should I do the questions?
Sure, I can do that. Where's everybody from? I think some of our listeners would probably be surprised to learn that none of us met each other in person.
No, we are from all over the place. I live in Los Angeles.
I am in London, Ontario, actually.
I'm currently in Phoenix, Arizona.
I'm in Champaign, Illinois.
I am way the fuck up north. You've never heard of where I am.
But it's in...
I think we're spread across 3 different time zones.
That's Canada. You don't know where I am, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Very Canada.
Very Canada.
Not so far north that it's Alaska, though, if I want to be honest. What does everybody do outside the podcast?
I am a teacher. I shape the young minds.
I work in a plant that makes insulation for power transformers as my day job, and then I also stream on Twitch and pretend that people like what I put up there.
I do. I'm an IT. I do a lot of troubleshooting.
I am currently unemployed, but my primary hobby is I like to write for fun and profit. Well, hopefully profit. We'll get there when we get there.
I understand that struggle. I am also actually more or less unemployed at the moment. I've done a lot of construction. I'm trying to be a professional painter. It's the winter, so it's not going so good, because it's like minus 30 here. Nobody wants painting at minus 30. So we've got a question here from Dat Alex. He's wondering why we decided to go with horror for the podcast.
Yeah, I think that one's a Daniel-specific question.
Yeah, I did come to you folks with the pitch of horror.
Yeah.
That's fair. We could have shut you down.
And to be fair, some people did, which is okay. No, it's fine. No, people are busy or people doing other things. But horror was, it's always something I've liked to run horror games. It used to be, they would be a break from our long-running like Dungeons and Dragons games or something that they would do. I would always want to do a Halloween special of like games that I would run. I also ended up running a couple of like spin-off spooky games for old podcast called Friday Night Quests that I was sort of got me doing podcasts in the first place. That was the first one I was on. And it really clicked with me. I'm actually kind of mixed on horror movies and media in general. I think some of it's good, but I'm not one of those guys who wants to watch like every single sequel and watch them when they get really bad, but like kind of like them. But I really like them in a tabletop space because I think you could get like some really interesting stuff through horror. In particular, you could deal with like, all sorts of tough issues, but they also could be kind of fun depending on how you want to do it. And it works really great for an anthology show because, a lot of people end up dead, and that's okay. In a long-running narrative podcast, you can't kill off all your characters.
It's frowned on anyway.
Yeah.
Not with that attitude.
You can do anything you want. Rules are made up. But generally, audiences don't like that. And narratively, it's difficult to build arcs when everybody ends up dead. So yeah, I guess that's why we're doing horror. And I hope people like it.
I mean, I'm a big fan.
Awesome.
Getting involved with this has made me realize just how into horror I am. Like, I thought I was gonna have to do some research so I could get into the right mindset, and I was like, seen it.
For the longest time, I was kind of like a baby about horror. Like, I didn't want to see anything like, oh, it's gonna be too scary. Scary is a bad emotion. My brother still says that. Well, one of my brothers says, why would you watch a scary movie? Scary is bad. It feels bad when you're scared, so you shouldn't do it. But I like them. They've grown on me. Partially because my wife will watch a horror movie every now and then, and I'm trying to follow along.
That's fair.
Yeah. Hilariously, I scare very easily. I'm not into horror movies. Like, I have to watch them secondhand first through something like The Kill Count or something like that, because I frighten so easily. But I figured it'd be easier to do it in a tabletop setting, and I was right.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's kind of hard to be scared in a tabletop setting. I'd love if I could actually scare someone, but we're mostly going to be dealing with spooky themes and stuff. It's kind of hard to actually be like, blah, and spook you out. That's going to peak. I'm sorry, Dominic.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's all good. It's all good. I've edited out a lot of peaks, including myself.
The running theme of apologizing to the editor.
We do that a lot, for good reason.
Well, I think maybe let's go on to our next question here.
All right, this one comes from McMoon. When are we doing a baby horror story?
What the fuck does that mean?
Children are a wonderful source of horror. The responsibility, the goos, it's a thing that comes up.
I've never really wanted children. They're terrifying to me. I remember when I was younger, I said, I never want to pick up a baby. Because if you drop the baby, that's straight to hell right there. There's no way you could get out of that. I will say, I recently played the newest Resident Evil game, Resident Evil Village. Yeah. And there is a weird, spooky baby that chases you around at one point, and it is upsetting.
Yeah, I was thinking about Dead Space as well. Dead Space 2 in particular. Dead Space 2 is kind of whoa moment.
Those creepy fucking babies.
Dead Space is gnarly. That remake is surprisingly good.
I have yet to play it.
That's what I've heard.
I'm looking forward to playing it.
I spend too much money on video games, so I'm playing. It's good.
Also, Eraserhead has, I don't know if any of you have seen it.
Oh, yeah.
Eraserhead has definitely made it so I never want to have a child ever again. Or actually, ever. I shouldn't say ever again because I don't have one.
That's, okay.
I don't have one.
That implies.
But yeah, it never makes me want to have a child. I've sat through Eraserhead probably too many times because originally I just never understood it until it hit me. I'm like, oh, being a single father would sound awful. No, thank you.
Yeah, so I will start thinking about horror babies there. They do spook me out. I know we have one parent on the podcast, though.
Hello.
Yes. Maybe you would know more about spooky babies than I would.
2, technically.
What?
I also have a son.
I did not realize that, Damien. You had not mentioned it, but okay. Well, hey, it's get to know the cast. I'm getting to know you now, too. Love it. Babies. Or not babies, children.
We could have a Rugrats-based theme game where it's the horrors of being a Rugrat. They've dealt with some heavy stuff once upon a time.
When you said Rugrats, my mind automatically went to the show, and I'm like, okay, so we play as the characters, and Reptar is coming after us.
I was mainly thinking of dealing with the horrors of Angelica.
There is that too.
That sounds horrible.
They always, every one of those episodes always starts with it's kind of bizarre looking what they're looking at because we're all zoomed in on it from a weird perspective, and that's the weird perspective of babies. There is actually a role-playing game system called Monsters and Other Childish Things, which is about small children and their imaginary friends who are actual real pet monsters.
That's dope. That sounds awesome.
Yeah,
That sounds pretty awesome.
That does sound
I gotta
really
make a
cool.
note of that.
I think we might have accidentally answered this question.
I'm typing it in right now in the thing to remember.
This next one's from McMangus. What's your favorite Pokemon or Pokemon type?
Okay. Look, they got it in one. His name's Bulbasaur, and he rules.
Oh, please. Charmander.
See, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to disagree with you both there. The best Pokemon ever was Snorlax.
Snorlax is pretty good.
He has his moments, but mostly he's just a real sleepy boy.
Yeah, that's why he's great.
Oh man, I don't know. I have a favorite Pokemon type. I don't have
Do
a
it.
favorite Pokemon right now. It's Fire Poison. It's my favorite Pokemon type. I can't
That's
say anything else.
Just the Salazzle line, right?
I think so. That's just been my favorite Pokemon recently to use because I spent way too long trying to get the perfect Salazzle to evolve it, and I didn't know you had to have like a female to evolve it. So I did not know that, and I spent probably 10 hours.
No, you gotta have a female Salazzle because they're the sexy ones.
Don't
it's
Google that.
uncomfortable,
Too late.
the curviness of this Pokemon here.
I just like the idea of Fire Poison. That sounded awesome.
I'm looking at this Pokemon. It's, you know what? Never mind. Don't think about it. Don't think about it.
You
Don't-
did that to yourself, Daniel.
No, this is my own fault.
My favorite type is Bug, and my favorite Pokemon is also from Sun and Moon. It's the Wimpod Golisopod line.
Oh yeah, those are good.
It just starts as a bug with anxiety, and then it turns into a samurai.
Yeah, hell yeah.
How could you not love it?
That's pretty good.
Dang, I didn't know that.
In the original games, I was a real big fan of Ghost Pokemon. I could never get that Gengar, so sort of developed a special bond with Haunter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ghosts were. I mean, that first game was not super balanced.
No.
Ghosts were like supposed to beat the psychic types, but every ghost was ghost poison, which is weak to psychic.
Whoops.
Pokemon, gotta catch them all.
I wish to become the very best.
Like no one ever was.
Have you seen the Poke Rap? Not the original one, but the Brian David Gilbert Poke Rap, where he does
Yes.
all of the
I believe I
Pokemon,
have.
all of the Pokemon in the Poke Rap. It's very good.
I don't think I've seen that one, but I will have to look that one up
Okay.
later.
Of course,
Yeah.
now it's outdated because more have come out, but.
That shit's legendary.
In the grim darkness of the far future, there are like 50 billion Pokemon.
Yes, you always got to have more.
That doesn't sound grim at all. That sounds great.
Yeah,
They're eventually gonna get to the point where like somebody coming into Pokemon, like a kid like discovering Pokemon at some point in the future, is never going to feasibly be able to catch them all because there's just going to be so many of them.
I mean, nobody ever really catches them all anymore. I never caught them all. I dedicated myself to beating the Elite Four, and then I'm like, I beat this game. What are we talking about?
Fair.
The credits rolled. I'm done.
That makes sense to me. This next question is, what are your favorite or favored systems, horror or otherwise?
Oh boy, I got a lot of systems I like. I'll just say stop it at 2. I really like.
Only 2.
I could do more, but I'll let other people say things. Then maybe we could come around to me later. I really, really, really like the Gumshoe system. Pretty much all of the stuff for Gumshoe is a lot of fun to run. I think it works very well for my style of storytelling. It's very finding clues and stuff, and not so much the fighting, though there are fighting rules. And the one that's about spies versus vampires has more fighting rules. But that's the best thing about Gumshoe is like all of the versions of it are really good. There's a lot of great settings I've printed for them. Just love it. Really good stuff. The other one I really like, it's an older system, Unknown Armies. Unknown Armies has the wildest setting for a book I've ever read. Some pretty decent systems. And just absolutely wild magic stuff. Like, you have to risk your life to gain magical powers, so you like drive without a seatbelt and that gives you chaos magic, or you gotta drink a lot, or just all this crazy magical rules and stuff. It's very, very fun.
It does sound pretty wild from what
Yeah.
you guys were saying.
Anyway, I could say several more, but I'll stop there for now.
Favorite or favored systems? I also have a few, just due to the fact that I've been doing TTRPGs for as long as I have. Rifts for the crunch of it, because it's a very rules-heavy system.
Mega damage.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know much about riffs. I just know mega damage is a word from riffs. So I just said the one thing I know.
Other than that, D&D 3.5, well, just any of the 3.x era of D&D will always have a special place in my heart because I've pretty much memorized all of the rules for it. Other than that, I'm really enjoying Blades in the Dark currently. That is a very enjoyable system.
That is a good one.
Oh, this one's tough. I'm a filthy crunch player. I'll admit it. I like power gaming. I like crunch. And so the game that I've been really sinking my teeth into when I get the chance is Warhammer Fantasy 4th Edition. I really enjoy Warhammer 4th Edition. I don't have the crazy wackiness of, like, you know, 2nd edition that everyone likes to fondly remember until you actually play it. 4th edition is awesome because I've been slowly changing that system into my own little system. Once I get it down pat, I'm going to start playtesting it and using different, I guess, worlds instead of just Warhammer to play that game. So I'm currently working on changing a few things to fit a Bloodborne game. So
Ooh.
Interesting.
yeah, because I think the crunchiness and how when you actually do get to the killy bits, it's a lot of fun. Instead of rolling miss to hit, you can change the dynamic of everything. That's probably my favorite system at the moment.
For me, I have so many systems that for me are like, oh man, it's so cool. I'd love to play it one day. So I can list my two favorite systems. One, I desperately want the chance to play because I'm in love with everything about it. And the other I actually have played. The one I'd like to play one day is called Lancer. It's a mecha game.
Yeah, that's got some crunch.
That game has some crunch. Normally, I'm not a crunch kind of guy, but the way customization in that game works activates the same parts of my brain that a job class system in a JRPG activates. It's just a very modular, very creative, open way to build your ultimate perfect death machine, and I've always wanted to actually play it with someone, and I've yet to have the chance. In terms of games I actually have played, I love Powered by the Apocalypse.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's so simple and so narratively driven. You could play a Powered by the Apocalypse game with anybody, and rules just work to facilitate everybody having a good time. It's what Interstitial, the game that I play on Kingdom Hearts of Forgotten Era, that's the system that uses. So I've seen that it can just be a lot of fun. Powered by the Apocalypse is the shit.
Definitely. It's sort of what renewed my interest in tabletop RPGs for a while, so absolutely love it.
Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of Blades in the Dark, which I think sort of a spin-off from Powered by the Apocalypse in some way. I don't know the exact relationship there. Most of us... Oh, go ahead.
Blades in the Dark uses the Forged in the Dark system. I'm not sure its relation to Powered by the Apocalypse, but they have some similarities.
They have similar ideas. They have a lot of similar ideas. So I think... Yeah, I don't think there's a direct one-to-one, like, oh, it's a spin-off of Powered by the Apocalypse, but it definitely takes some of those ideas and runs a little further with them in a pretty cool way.
It's a fantastic setting, and there's a crime going on, there's the weird mystical stuff, and ghosts and demons everywhere, and yeah, the rules are real simple, and most of us have played in a game I've been running for a couple years, which is swell. And also, a special mention to Paranoia. I only played it once, but I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Paranoia is fun. That was actually one of my first, like, big, silly spin-off games I ran. It wasn't a Halloween thing, but my normal group got them together and we're like, we're going to play Paranoia. And we did, like, we had them take a personality test before we got started. And then, like, as part of it, they were getting spam messages on their phones. So I had, like, little piece of paper that I had crumpled up and just started throwing them at them. Because that was a spam message. It was very fun.
That's great.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I'll say one more system I like. This is like me tossing in a grenade into the room and then running away. 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons rules. Thank you.
We've had this conversation before, and you know what? I will say this. It is a good miniature tabletop game. It is a bad RPG.
Agree to disagree.
I will. So I will not yuck another person's yum. You enjoy that system. That is awesome. I, after trying it once, was like, nope, this is not for me. To be fair, though, I'm not even a huge fan of 5th edition. They've done some things right, but I personally believe even 5th edition is too simplified with how they did things. Like, it just removes some of the customization that you could do.
I was mostly joking. Nobody needs to relitigate Dungeons and Dragons arguments on the internet. So let's move on from that.
Real quick, just
no, it's only fair you get to say it. You get to talk too.
Because the thing is, at the risk of severely dating myself and making everybody else in the room feel old, I was basically a kid when 4th edition came out, and as a result, that was my first tabletop RPG.
Well, he's just a little baby.
Yeah, so 4E will always have a weird special place in my heart. I have like 7 books for it still after all these years. That said, I get it. It's definitely different from every other version of D&D, that's for sure, as I later learned in life.
Should check out 13th Age, which has some of the designers on 4th edition went on and made another fantasy RPG that takes a lot of 4th edition stuff and makes it even better.
I actually have played 13 Age once.
Yeah.
I enjoyed my time with
It's
it.
good. I like 13th Age.
I don't know. I may have to take a look at it to see what they've done with it. The last thing I'm going to say on this point is kind of adjacent to the topic, I guess, because it was less a question and more a topic. One of the things that I really like about TTRPGs, no matter the system itself is really, when you boil it down, just a framework. You could take something like the World of Darkness D10 system, scrap the world and use that system in whatever world or setting you really want to, if you put your mind to it a little bit. So there's really always a system for the game you want to play, and
Definitely.
it kind of brings out that creativity.
I think we got one more question here. Is that right?
Well, I actually thought of another one that I forgot to put on the list. Do you have any favorite moments in your own role-playing?
Oh, man. I don't want to bore people with my role-playing stories.
Everyone has one.
Oh, come on, Boris.
Okay, everybody gets one. No, I very rarely am a player in role-playing games. Is the thing. I'm almost always the game master, so it's fun to occasionally be the player. I think maybe the best game mastering thing that I ever did. This is a game I ran back in the day. It was my college D&D game. I had a really good cliffhanger. We had one of our players wanted to switch their characters out. They thought they built their character poorly. They wanted to build another one. They ended up building another bad character. This is, you might know, Mike Christensen is this person. He used to do some of those other podcasts I did. That dude cannot build characters for shit. He gets himself...
I hope he hears this.
He gets killed a lot. He's great. I love him. His character left, and then we kept doing a thing. And then we had a big reveal of like the big bad guy who like came after them all. And it turned out it was Mike's old character showed up again as like the big bad guy, and he like knew all the secrets or whatever. And just the way that it played out, I was able to use like things that Mike had said earlier is now like, oh, now he's saying it like in a sinister way or whatever. And then it was perfect because it was right before the winter break. So I had him like attack the guys and they all got captured. And I'm like, okay, great. Winter break. We'll see you all next year. And that was like the big cliffhanger. And it was very
That's
fun.
nice.
It was
That's pretty good.
The only one that I can really think of is not necessarily it's a fun memory. It was not a good action on my part, other than for the roleplay itself. It was when Russell, Dominic, and Daniel will remember this, when we did the Alien one-shot.
Oh yeah, I have fond memories of that. That was phenomenal.
So I was playing the Weyland-Yutani representative. It got down to it. It was like right down to the wire. There was another Weyland-Yutani representative who was an NPC who had woken up, and we were trying to get away. The aliens were out and causing havoc and all that fun shit. I got the other Weyland-Yutani rep to basically get their escape pod ready to launch, and then at the very last moment, basically had betrayed them and forced them to overdose on the drugs that they had been hiding in their own room, and then escaped on my own.
You were the only one to survive that whole thing.
There was also more than one. There was room in the escape pod. There was room for the other person.
You know, the glory was to be all mine. I was the good company man. That's how Weyland-Yutani works.
You certainly were.
You've all seen the movies, at least I think.
A real Burke.
Oh yeah, I like I said, it was not the actions of a good person, but it was in character, and the way it worked out, if anything. Because like it was like right down to the wire. Even after that, there was like a chance that I was not making it out of there because our unfriendly neighborhood android was like pounding at the door.
I got one. So this is the first time I've ever played Warhammer Fantasy 4th Edition with a bunch of friends. We had a group of a Dwarf Slayer, a Priestess of Sigmar, a Beggar, who I was playing, and then a Witch Hunter. We were playing I can't remember what it is, but you're locked in the inn, and there's something in the basement. And so we played 2 sessions, and the guy that was playing the Slayers never played Warhammers, never understood how Warhammer works. And so we got to the basement, and we found out that in the basement is a vampire thrall. And if you get bit by the vampire thrall, you have a chance of getting the disease where you get vampirism. And so my beggar was inadvertently the frontline fighter for everybody for some reason. And so my character got bit in the arm, and I was able to roll the endurance save where I didn't have to take the disease. But the Slayer character thought it was a good idea, because he was playing it in character, to chop off my arm. And so in Warhammer, dismemberment is death if you don't get to a surgeon or anything like that. So in this sewer water filled basement of some rundown horrible inn, this Slayer thought it was a good idea to chop off my arm. And so me being the person that was going to be like, oh, this is going to be your introduction to how bad this world is, he's like, I'm going to chop off your arm. I'm like, no, you're not. So we rolled a brawling test, and he won because it's a dwarf Slayer. And so he chopped off my arm. And so the Priestess of Sigmar tried her best to do a heal save to at least stop the bleeding. So for 4 rounds, my poor character, Sigismund, was just bleeding out in this horrible, terrible thing, screaming a brutal death. And everyone's face at the table was like, oh, you actually really die in this game. It's like, yeah, you just straight up killed him. My poor friend Tim ended up actually never wants to play Warhammer ever again, because that kind of traumatized him a little bit, because he killed me. Like, he killed this poor beggar in cold blood, and everyone's just like, holy shit. And it's like, yeah, man, that's just how bad the system is, because we just got done playing a 5th edition campaign, so they were riding high. We're all 20th level characters and all that, but that was just a cold shock for everybody. It's like, there's no saving this. You're dead. And so that's placed a very fond memory in my TTRPG mind of just watching the almost helplessness that no one could do anything about this. There's no magic. There's no magical potions. It's just, you're dead. Yeah, it was awesome. Granted, it wasn't awesome for me at the moment, because I'm like, dude, don't do this. Please don't do this. But it was gonna happen, so.
All right, my personal favorite role-playing moment, at least the one I can think of off the top of my head, comes from the other podcast, so I'll try to keep it as vague and spoiler-free as possible.
Yeah, don't spoil it.
Promises. In the other podcast, I play as a character named Solaritus, and my whole gimmick is that he's a shonen protagonist who uses improvised weapons, basically. Exclusively improvised weapons. Even when he has a weapon, he does not use it the way it's supposed to be used. When he actually does finally get a Keyblade, because again, it's a Kingdom Hearts podcast, just roll with it, he holds it in his teeth, and the first time he used it, he ended up holding it in his teeth while having a pencil and a light stand in his hands.
Great.
That's the kind of shit I like to run. So during one episode, which was very intense, huge plot revelations, everything went to shit that day, and one of the main villains told something dramatic to Solaritus, about his backstory, which again, I will not spoil. But, it was suitably earth-shattering, so Solaritus picked up a gun and started using it like a gun.
Ha!
Whoa.
And, I was really proud of just making the situation dramatic by just doing something as simple as using a weapon the way you're supposed to. That felt cool. That was a good episode.
Yeah.
Does your character have green hair and wear a bandana?
No, but you're not the first person to make the comparison.
Okay, just making sure, just checking.
I'm glad I wasn't the only one whose mind went in that direction, because I'm like, okay, so Kingdom Hearts Zoro, cool.
Yeah, when it happened, I think it was Rem in the podcast who said, so Zoro from One Piece. And I'm like, yes, but shut up.
Nice. For myself, I have just so many favorite role-playing moments because I play a lunatic pretty frequently. But running Blaze in the Dark, I think A big highlight for me is just the volume of malice I level it to from anything that comes from the sea.
Yes.
Like, there was the one that I lovingly referred to as We Fought a Zoo. A squid gets out and stalks the shadows. Someone needs to roll a resistance and they crit, so I guess you're relieved to see that it's escaped your vision?
Zoos are bad.
Good times.
The ocean is bad. Stay away from the ocean.
Yeah, anytime I try to put something threatening in front of you, like if it's a person, it ends up being some sort of sea life, Tycheros person. Fun stuff. I really enjoy just putting bonker stuff out there.
Ooh, actually, I do have a second honorable mention event. Also, amusingly enough, it's my character kind of acting like a bastard. In the Blades in the Dark game, when we were in Udasha, and my original Whisper basically followed through with their by any means necessary way of thinking, and ended up splitting from the party by lightning bolting
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
one of the brides at a wedding.
Yep. Siobhan, Hyena Tycherosi.
We should move on from that, or I'm going to start yelling at you. I'm
yeah,
going to start
look,
yelling
man.
at you.
Look, man.
What's the last question?
Yeah,
What's the last question?
Favorite horror tropes. Sorry, favorite horror tropes or tropes you'd like to explore.
You know what? I just saw this movie, Malignant, the other day. I just want to have a Malignant in a horror thing.
No spoilers. That's a big one. You cannot reveal that.
I'm not gonna spoil it, but
I'm gonna have to watch that.
Me too.
'Cause
It's
I
a
have
fun
no clue
one.
what you're speaking of.
I'll have to think of something better. But that's the first thing that comes to mind. Just a Malignant.
You could do that in Paranoia. Like, in all honesty, you could do Malignant in Paranoia, and that would be kind of great.
Actually, maybe I'd want to do like a thing,
Ooh.
thing, sort of like taking over people's bodies, sort of thing, and figuring out who's still good and who's evil and stuff like that.
Oh, I'd love to do some sort of social deduction game.
Yeah.
That could be fun. I don't know. For myself, I would like to do the trope of being like hunted from the shadows, where, you know, you have a mysterious force that you may or may not know what it is, but it's like inexorably chasing the characters.
Like, is this kind of
So, like,
like
Predator?
It Follow? Yeah, or It Follows?
Original Alien,
Ooh.
Mm.
less seen and more like you don't necessarily see what's chasing you, more so you see the effect afterwards type deal.
Gotcha.
I'd be down for that.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, I need to reread through Hunter.
The Reckoning.
Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh, that would be a fun one. If you play people that are vampires and they're being hunted by the hunter, that would actually be fun.
Oh, okay. So I know we touched on it at some point recently, but what I was thinking with that is more the players are playing neophyte hunters who are sent out after what they assume is vampires, and it ends up being something else and something far more sinister.
More sinister than vampires.
Mega vampires.
It's World of Darkness. There are a lot of things more sinister than vampires.
Space vampires. Right.
Magical girls.
There was a choose your own adventure book with space vampires that I have not gotten out of my head for years.
That does seem like it would be difficult to get out of your head.
I used to love choose your own adventure books. Those were great.
Same.
I had one that where you were in high school and then you end up finding out that the high school had one day that was full of zombie kids and you were stuck in that. I remember that choose your own adventure book. I cheated at that because I was tired of dying.
Fair.
Is it cheating or is it just having a good time? Anyway, whenever I think of vampires, I for some reason think about space vampires. And there's like the cover of this old choose your own adventure book with like a vampire in like a goofy space suit, attacking two little
my
kids in
God.
space suits. And inexplicably, they're in front of the sun, which seems like it would stop the space vampire. I don't really know.
Ah, he's in a spacesuit.
Exactly. That's why he's in the spacesuit.
Got it. Okay.
It's not like he needs to breathe.
I think the horror trope that I'm a big sucker for comedy horror. Evil Dead 2, Tucker and Dale versus Evil, like top tier. But I also really, really enjoy the first two movies of Hellraiser.
Oh, hell
the remake
yeah.
was also Hellraiser. The remake was actually pretty solid, and I enjoyed it. I do like the idea of unleashing something that you thought was going to be, for your benefit, but actually it's a rabbit's foot type of situation, especially at the end of
A rabbit's foot?
the remake.
Monkey's paw.
A monkey's paw. Thank you. God. Oops.
How did I not catch that?
Yeah. Thank you for catching that. But I enjoy monkey paw situations. Those are my favorite type of horror tropes.
That's solid. I can get behind that.
Yeah, at the risk of being a broken record, hear me out.
Oh, God.
Giant monsters.
I also like a giant monster.
Yeah, and well, that is partially a joke. Partially, it's not, because there are some scary fucking giant monster movies out there. The first Godzilla film was objectively a horror film. I don't know how one would translate a horror-themed giant monster story to tabletop, but I'd love to see someone try.
You could do like a Cloverfield.
That's
sure.
basically what I was just thinking, is like Cloverfield is essentially a kaiju movie that's supposed to be supposedly a horror movie.
Yeah, Cloverfield's the big one in that regard.
Yeah. But, we could make it good.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Cloverfield guy, but that's neither here nor there.
I wasn't a fan of the first one either, and I didn't see any of the others.
That second one with John Goodman is real good.
Cloverfield Lane or whatever it is. The one where they're in the bunker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed that one. That one I thought was a much more solid movie.
I have still yet to see it.
Trapped in a bunker might be a thing, too.
Bottle episode.
Yeah.
I think my favorite horror trope is horror movies that don't age very well. Not like for political correctness reasons, but just because they cannot be taken seriously anymore.
Such as?
My go-to for that is Wishmaster. There is so much, I'm guessing it was unintentional comedy in that first movie.
I don't know. I think Wishmaster knows it's kind of funny.
That's fair. Like, there's the scene with security guard and Nathaniel Wishmaster is trying to convince him to make a wish, and he's like, yeah, I wish you'd go away, and he's just slowly, sadly walking off saying, no, I need to get in. And then later on there's a casino. That might be in the second movie, and
that's in the second one.
Wishmaster's spinning around in a chair. Magic. There's nobody in that room. This is the second time he's turned around. What is he doing?
But Deboff just devours the scenery in every scene he's in, so it makes it very good.
That's fair.
Deboff being the actor.
And that is our last question.
All right. Well, I hope that everybody enjoyed this little different episode. We'll be doing it every now and then. We probably won't need to introduce ourselves every time, but we'll be willing to answer a couple of questions. So we encourage you to hop on to the Daniel's Dread Tales Discord, which should be linked in the episode description of this episode. I just pointed down in real life as if I'm pointing at the episode description for an audio podcast. Like, that's not how this works at all.
That's okay. We could hear that.
You could hear me pointing?
Definitely.
Oh yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
So I guess that sort of wraps it up. So thanks for listening, everyone. Boils, ghouls, and booze. I'm going to keep saying it. And have a spookerific day.
Sure.
Yeah, why not? Thank you for listening to Daniel's Dread Tales. You can find us on Twitter at Dan's Dread Tales, all one word, for as long as Twitter continues to be a usable platform. We have new episodes every other Friday and fun bonus stuff like this on the occasional off-week. Please tell your friends and review us on your podcast platform of choice. I might read some of the reviews on the show in the coming weeks. It truly does help us out, so give us a review. Thanks again. Have a scare-tastic day.